There are days when even walking to the mailbox feels like crossing a field with heavy boots. The legs that once climbed stairs with ease now hesitate. They complain. They seem to say, "I'm tired," even when you've done so little. And it's not just about age. It's about a kind of quiet weakening that arrives slowly, not with a loud bang, but with a soft sigh. You notice it when your legs burn after just a few steps, when you sit down with relief rather than ease, when carrying groceries becomes a negotiation between strength and balance. This is the pain that many live with after 60, not sharp, not dramatic, but persistent. And perhaps most of all, it's invisible to others. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, the Japanese doctor who lived beyond 100 and treated patients well into his own 90s, once compared the body to a bridge. A bridge depends on its pillars, and in our case, those pillars are the legs. If they weaken, everything else begins to feel unstable. The back, the breath, the confidence. We may not fall, not yet, but we begin to fear falling. And that fear settles in the bones long before an accident ever does. But here's something we often forget. The body doesn't fail all at once. It whispers first. It gives small warnings, a tremble on the stairs, a cramp in the calf, a strange fatigue at the end of the day. And if we learn to listen, truly listen, those whispers can become a call to care, not a sentence of decline. Dr. Andrew Weil, one of the fathers of integrative medicine, once said, "Food can be your pharmacy or your silent poison." It's a sentence that lingers, because what we eat each day without fanfare or urgency slowly shapes what our body can still do, especially the legs, especially the muscles that carry us through the world. And yet too often we believe that strength only comes from gyms, from pills, from heavy routines we can no longer follow. But what if strength, the kind that allows you to rise from a chair without holding the arms, to walk from the kitchen to the garden without needing to pause, what if that strength began on your plate? In this conversation, I want to show you something simple, something doable, not supplements, not trends, not expensive powders, just 4 foods, common, accessible, familiar, foods that, when included regularly and with respect to the rhythm of your age, begin to nurture the legs again, to feed the muscles, to improve the circulation, to awaken a stability that hasn't disappeared, only gone quiet. Let's begin. One food, one habit, one quiet change at a time. Because it's possible. It's still possible. It usually begins with something we've done for decades, without thinking twice. A piece of white bread, a spread of margarine, maybe a coffee with sugar, and the day begins. For many, this small breakfast has become routine, almost a comfort. But over time, that routine begins to whisper its consequences. You feel it when your legs hesitate to support you after standing, when stairs leave your calves aching, when the energy to move seems to drain before the sun reaches the top of the sky. What few people realize is that the very first meal of the day has the power to wake up your muscles, or to let them fade in silence. After a night of rest, your body is hungry not just for calories, but for nourishment, especially for amino acids, the building blocks of muscle tissue. Without them, the body makes a quiet decision. It takes what it needs from what's available. And that often means breaking down lean muscle to convert into fuel. Little by little, meal after meal, we lose strength not because of disease, but because of absence. It's a strange thought, isn't it? That what's missing in the morning may be costing us our legs in the long run. But there's a quiet solution too. Something as humble as 1 boiled egg and half a banana can begin to shift this pattern. Just 1 egg offers high-quality protein that tells the body, you don't need to borrow from the muscles today. And half a banana? It brings the potassium that supports nerve function and muscular response. It's not about stuffing the plate. It's about sending the right signal. Some elders in the countryside used to start their day with strong coffee and bread. But others, the ones who kept walking longer, added something more. A little protein, a piece of fruit, a sprinkle of seeds. In their simplicity, they were feeding what they didn't yet know was called resilience. Imagine this: a warm drink with a pinch of cinnamon to awaken the blood, a boiled egg modest and full of life, a mashed banana with a spoon of flaxseed, rich in fiber and light in the mouth. This is not a grand meal. It's not fancy. But it's enough to begin, to tell your legs, today you will be supported. It's like winding up an old clock. If you don't do it in the morning, it won't tick through the afternoon. And just like that clock, your muscles also need that gentle winding. Not with weights, not with loud effort, but with the right kind of food, offered when the body is most ready to receive it. It may seem too simple to matter, but simplicity is often how healing begins. How lentils can protect your knees better than collagen supplements? There's a kind of quiet faith that many place in powdered collagen. A scoop in the tea, a sachet in the drawer. A promise that joints will hold, that knees will no longer ache, that age can be softened by something tasteless and quick. But the truth is more humble, and perhaps more rooted in the kitchen than in the cupboard. Because for the knees to stay strong, the body needs more than just one ingredient. It needs a meal that speaks the language of structure, inflammation, and slow nourishment. Lentils may not wear the shine of collagen branding, but they hold something deeper. They carry amino acids, the very ones that help rebuild cartilage. Not just fill in gaps, but support the cushion between bones. And perhaps more importantly, lentils offer fiber and iron, two nutrients often neglected in later years. When digestion slows and inflammation rises, these small seeds act like quiet guardians. They soothe, they repair, they protect. In the southern villages of India, where time moves more slowly and food is still made with memory, elders often eat lentil dal 3 times a week, a soft, comforting dish, not because they read it in a study, but because their parents did the same, and so did theirs. What modern science has now discovered is that these communities have some of the lowest fall rates in all of Asia. Their knees hold, their steps remain steady, and their secret? It's not a secret. It's a bowl of spiced lentils, warm on the table. The lentil doesn't ask for much. A bit of turmeric, a spoon of olive oil, maybe a sautéed onion or garlic to open its flavor. Served with rice or mashed roots, it becomes both medicine and meal. No complicated recipes, no expensive ingredients, just the kind of food that understands the needs of the aging body, because it has always been there. You might think, how could something so simple matter? But simplicity is what the body trusts. It digests it easily, it welcomes it, and over time, consistency does what collagen alone cannot. It builds, it supports, it weaves strength into the places that carry our weight, day after day. Lentils are not just food, they are the quiet cement in the knees, the unspoken ally in every walk to the store, every step to the garden, every moment you stand and feel solid beneath your own body. You may not notice their work right away, but one day, you will rise from the chair and realize you did not groan, that your knees held, that the pain is no longer the first thing you feel, and in that moment you may remember a bowl of lentils and smile. Why papaya may be the most underrated ally for leg circulation. Some signs are too quiet to be called symptoms. A numbness that creeps into your toes when you sit too long. A strange heaviness in the calves as the day goes on. A tingling sensation that makes you shift your feet beneath the table, searching for relief that doesn't come. These aren't the sharp alarms of illness. They are more like dim lights on a dashboard, warnings of slowed circulation, of blood that no longer flows freely through the long corridors of your lower limbs. The legs are the farthest point from the heart, and as the years pass, they become like distant towns in a country where the roads are narrowing. Blood travels slower. Oxygen doesn't arrive in full. The muscles feel forgotten, and healing takes longer. This is where the quiet fruits of nature step in, and among them, few are as overlooked, yet as powerful, as the papaya. Inside the soft orange flesh of a ripe papaya lives something called papaina, an enzyme that helps reduce inflammation and improves how nutrients are absorbed. It also helps clean the bloodstream gently, easing the flow where it has been sluggish. And then there's potassium, a mineral that supports vascular tone, that subtle tension in the blood vessels that keeps the legs from feeling heavy, the feet from swelling, the muscles from gasping for air. In Caribbean studies with elders who still tend their gardens and walk without canes, a simple pattern emerged. Those who ate papaya regularly, 5 times a week, showed better muscle oxygenation in their legs, not through supplements, not through therapy, through fruit. sliced and served with care as part of daily life, not as medicine, but as part of the culture of care. There's also something powerful in what you pair it with. A slice of papaya after lunch, sprinkled with roasted pumpkin seeds, small, crunchy, and rich in magnesium and healthy fats, creates a combination that speaks to the arteries, to the veins, to the very vessels that carry life downward. It's a gesture that says, I haven't forgotten about you, legs. I still want you to carry me. It may sound poetic, but the truth is often found in poetry. Because when circulation returns, when blood flows like it once did, the legs remember. They stretch farther. They cramp less. They rise more easily from the bed. And the papaya, once just a soft fruit on the table, becomes a silent witness to this awakening. Think of it this way. Every bite is like opening a window inside your body, letting the breeze return to rooms that have felt stuffy, letting the blood return to places that felt far away, letting life return to your own 2 feet. Dark, leafy greens that stabilize your step after 65. At a certain age, balance becomes something you notice only when it begins to falter. The quiet tremble as you stand up too fast. The subtle sway when bending to pick something up. The fear, unspoken but present, of falling. Not because the legs forgot how to walk, but because the body forgot how to trust them. In this stage of life, what once felt automatic now feels like something to be protected. What few realize is that much of this protection begins not in the feet, but in the foods we choose to place on our plates. Especially at night. Especially in the hours when the body begins its repair. So many rely on a small salad, often just pale lettuce and a drizzle of vinegar, thinking it's light and healthy. But that lightness can sometimes be empty, nutritionally poor, lacking in the very minerals and vitamins that bones, joints, and muscles quietly ask for as we sleep. Dark leafy greens, on the other hand, are nature's quiet guardians. Kale, arugula, spinach, leaves that carry calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K, the trio that helps strengthen bones, prevent microfractures, and activate the muscular signals that keep us upright. These nutrients don't act with urgency. They don't give instant results, but over time, they build something sturdy inside. In Ikaria, a small island in Greece where people live well into their 90s, there's a quiet tradition. Before bed, they cook their greens, not raw, not rushed, cooked slowly with olive oil, garlic, and a splash of lemon. It's not just a dish, it's a gesture of wisdom passed down through the generations. Because warm greens are easier to digest, their nutrients are better absorbed, and their oils support the joints while the body rests. You might think of a quick stir-fry, a handful of kale, a bit of garlic, a squeeze of lemon, maybe folded into an omelet or stirred into mashed potatoes. These aren't recipes, really. They're habits, gentle ones, and they become like invisible walking sticks, not in your hand, but in your bloodstream, your bones, your posture. There is something deeply reassuring about the thought that these leaves, these humble greens, are holding you up. That while others sleep beside television screens or with pills on their nightstands, you are giving your body something different, something ancestral, something that doesn't shout but whispers, "I'm here to hold you, even when you don't see me." You may not notice it tomorrow, or even next week, but one evening you'll turn to get up from the armchair. You'll rise, slowly but without fear. You'll take a few steps and realize your legs feel clearer, your balance steadier. And maybe then, in the quiet of your kitchen, you'll remember those greens and be grateful. When we think of strength, we often imagine arms lifting, backs bending, athletes on their feet. But strength, in its most essential form, is far quieter than that. It's in the legs that carry you to the window each morning, in the balance that allows you to stand in the shower without fear, in the quiet ability to reach the garden gate without holding onto the wall. And yet it's often this quiet strength that fades unnoticed, until one day it's gone. Perhaps it begins with hesitation when standing from the couch, or a growing sense of caution when walking down a familiar street. Perhaps the legs feel hollow by afternoon, as if the energy once stored in them has slowly drained away, leaving behind only the memory of motion. This is not weakness. It's not failure. It's the body asking for nourishment. Not just calories, but the kind of sustenance that speaks to the deep tissues, to the vessels, to the hidden systems that support movement and stability. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who lived well past 100 years, believed that living long wasn't about doing more, but about walking well every day. He said that you didn't need to run marathons to live fully. You simply needed to keep walking, and that the ability to do so at 90 begins with what you do at 60. And if we take this seriously, we begin to understand that strength is not built with loud gestures, but with small, faithful ones. The kind of choices we make at the table when no one is watching. Dr. Andrew Weil once offered a sentence that lingers in the heart. Eating is a therapeutic act. It is not just fuel. It is conversation. A conversation between you and your future self. A conversation between what you've lived and what you still hope to live. Each spoonful can either reinforce the body's foundation or gently erode it. And as we age, this truth becomes less abstract. We feel it in our digestion, in our sleep, and most of all, in our legs. What we've explored here are not superfoods or trends. They are not exotic powders or fleeting diets. They are 4 ingredients that may already be in your home. An egg in the morning, paired with a banana and flaxseed. It's a quiet signal to your muscles. You are safe, you will be preserved. A bowl of lentils with turmeric, warm and earthy. It reminds the joints they are supported, that inflammation does not have to win. A slice of papaya at the end of a meal, sprinkled with seeds that carry the minerals blood vessels need to remain open and generous. And then the dark leaves, kale, arugula, spinach, slowly cooked, eaten not with urgency, but with trust. These are not just foods. They are signals. They are care, translated into form. And what happens when this care becomes consistent? The legs notice. They tire less. They carry more. They rise more easily. You begin to feel something return, not youth, not speed, but presence. The ability to walk across a room without holding on to anything. The comfort of knowing you can bend to tie a shoe without feeling unstable. The quiet pride of climbing 3 steps without needing to pause. These are not small victories. These are foundations of life. There is something profoundly human about reclaiming strength through food. Not because food is magical, but because it is constant. It comes with rhythm. It's a place where you still have control. When much of the world begins to feel distant, when the body surprises you in unfamiliar ways, when energy comes and goes like the weather, the plate remains a space where healing can still begin. You don't need to change everything today. You don't need to chase perfection. The body does not ask for that. It asks only to be remembered, to be fed with kindness, with wisdom, with the same consistency it has offered you through the years. So, as you consider these foods, not as prescriptions, but as invitations, perhaps ask yourself, what do I want my legs to still carry me toward? A walk at dusk, a hug without needing to brace yourself, the dignity of standing without assistance. All of these live in the quiet strength you still possess, and that strength, like all things, can grow again, gently, silently, with every meal.